그때 당시의 목표는 플레이오프만 가자였는데 이게 어떻게 여기까지 오게 된 것 같아요.
If someone said to someone, H2k are gonna be playing for a spot at the finals, I think you would be lunatic, maybe.
H2K도 저희 팀이랑 비슷하게 4강에 올라오기 힘들었을 팀이라고 생각 들었을 것 같아요. 근데 방심할 수 없는 팀인 것 같고 그래서 준비를 많이 해야 될 것 같아요.
There is a reason that they are here instead of TSM or G2 or Flash Wolves. I think they're a really good team. And I think if we play our hearts out, we can possibly make history.
눈앞에 결승이 있다 보니까 결승까지 가고 싶어요.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the 2016 League of Legends World Championship. We're coming to you live from New York's Madison Square Garden, where fans from around the world have gathered for our final day of semifinal competition. By the night's end, only 2 teams will remain in pursuit of the Summoners Cup to face off in next week's finals. Now, last night we had one of the most epic 5-game series in the history of Worlds, and I know that fans, casters, analysts alike are hoping for the exact same tonight. Of course, we have packed this entire place to the brim, as you can see here, and people are more than ready to see some sweet World semifinal action. Semifinalist Samsung Galaxy here representing the LCK, getting ready backstage for this semifinal showdown. Of course, they'll face a hungry H2k lineup. Both of these teams have not dropped a single game over the last 2 weeks. Well, that's about to change. Thank you for joining us. I'm James Dash Patterson, and with me on the analyst desk tonight is Mitch Kruppo Vorspels, Jake Spawn Tiberi, and Joshua Jat Leesman.
Oh, man.
Following that epic series yesterday, Jad, how are we feeling coming into tonight?
I think it's almost impossible to top yesterday. Yesterday, I had the pleasure of casting way up there. It's super exciting to be down on the analyst desk on the floor at Madison Square Garden. Would be even cooler to be one of those players up there. Those guys, I can't wait for them to put on a show.
Yeah, and you can understand why teams coming here miss free throws, even though it's a gimme, because, wow, this place is huge and the fans are loud.
That's true. Being down here, it's like bathing. We're bathing in sound right now. It's absolute insanity. But, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to join Riv on stage to meet the 2 teams vying for the last spot in next week's World Championship Finals.
Madison Square Garden! Are you ready for more semifinals action? Tonight, we find out who will be the final team to face SKT, to find out who will challenge them for the Summoners Cup. Now, please join me in welcoming tonight's semi-finalists in our competition. Starting on the blue side, the surprise from the Korean LCK, Samsung Galaxy.
Fast up by mission, slicing Maelstrom on 3 members, the shockwave from Cloud, and Cloud9 is melting.
Samsung looks so impressive. They want to go all the way to the end.
They came in hungry to book their ticket over to the Big Apple, and it looks like Samsung Galaxy will be moving on to the semifinals at Madison Square Garden.
In the top lane, Juve. At jungle, Ambition. In mid lane, Crown. At AD carry, Ruler. At support, Core JJ. Their sub at the support position, Wraith. And their coach, Edgar. Once again, Samsung Galaxy. Their opponents in tonight's matchup, from the European LCS, H2k.
He's just done it for one. The steal away. Yanko Shakir's an absolutely massive Elder Drake, and EDG are evaporating on the spot.
H2k have just been dominating all their lanes.
H2k demolish ANX.
In the top lane, Odoamne. At jungle, Yankos. In mid lane, Ryu. At AD carry, Forgiven. At support, Thunder. Their sub at the AD carry position, Freeze. And their coach, Brawly. Once again, H2k. And put your hands together one more time for both tonight's semi-finalists. Players, please take your seats.
Samsung Galaxy and H2k doing battle on stage tonight to move on and challenge our reigning champions, SK Telecom, at Staples Center. This is going to be a big battle.
Yeah, and just the energy in this place. I felt it yesterday casting upstairs together with Jazz, as he was saying, but now that you're down here, these players, they're about to go in a best of 5 where they continuously have to keep making moves. They will make failures under the pressure of such a crowd. It is honestly just amazing. These are lifetime memories for these guys that they bring home. The cheers that Forgiven got, for example, there, that is something you will never, ever forget in your life.
And as we saw yesterday, right, it came down to the wire. The games could have been decided by a couple decisions here or there. The very same thing could happen tonight.
And that becomes all the harder with some of the inexperience in these lineups, because you could see the fishbowl effect already when Ruler was looking out into the crowd. This is bigger than he has ever played in his life. And, you know, you say that they're career-defining moments, and they have to be able to execute the way that Rox and SKT were able to yesterday.
Very much so. Well, joining us in Madison Square Garden for today's semifinal are our partners from all over the world, helping to bring the tournament to fans around the globe in 18 languages. Seen here are our counterparts from Brazil's CB LOL. The team from the LPL are bringing the action to the audience in China, and the Korean team here from OGN live at MSG as well. And then lastly, we have the LPL's Ren Dong, along with the Spiral Cats, making an appearance here at MSG. Now, we've come a long way since the group stages in San Francisco, and now only 3 teams remain. SK Telecom T1 defeated Rox Tigers in yesterday's 5-game match. They will play tonight's winner in the finals next week. Both of tonight's teams made quick work of their quarterfinal matchup, so tonight should be a different challenge entirely. And of course, you can still help raise the stakes in next week's clash for the cup. 25% of all Championship Z and Championship Ward Skin proceeds will go directly to the world's prize pool. By the end of the group stage, the prize pool was more than doubled. We'll bring you another update on the numbers next week. Now, before we dig into that matchup, let's talk a bit about what we saw last night between SKT and the Rox Tigers.
Yeah, and you know, Jat and I went to dinner last night, and we're sitting there naming all the great matchups at Worlds that have happened, and this might be the best. In fact, I think it was, because these two teams came in and executed at such a high level for 5 hours, and to watch them just go head-to-head, the two best teams in the world at that time was honestly awe-inspiring to watch.
And to add to that, that series just delivered on so many different levels. You had a pocket pick that no one had scouted from the entire world, support Misfortune, win 2 games, and then be banned for the next 2. You had Bengi coming in off the bench as a 2-time world champion to be 3-0 in the series. And you also had the #1 and the #2 player in the world battling for that crown. It had everything, and it was just a pleasure to watch.
Yeah, you had veterans already in Smeb and Faker, but then you also had like kind of newer players like a Peanut who completely he thrived under this environment, you know, with the crowd just rallying behind him. Just standing here right now and feeling the atmosphere in this stage just makes me appreciate that match even more, because Rox Tigers kept playing on the aggressive even after failing a couple of times under such many eyes here in such a round theater. I'm used to playing from the stage and then looking backwards, but everywhere you look, you're surrounded by people watching you play. It's honestly so impressive that they kept going and kept smiling.
Yeah, you can't escape them. But dare I say that Peanut snatched the heart of the world throughout this tournament with his devilishly cute looks, as you can hear here. Anyway, time to move on to the match at hand. The LCK Samsung Galaxy versus Europe's H2k. Both of these teams exceeded expectations, finishing first in their groups, went undefeated through the quarterfinals, and are now making a run at the finals. What has gotten these teams this far?
Yeah, and I mean, when you look at this Samsung Galaxy roster, you have to have so much respect, because in 2014, Blue and White lost all of their starting members, and it was only Kuve off the bench that stuck around. They've rebuilt, failed in 2015. 2016, only Kuve remains from that lineup. They bring in ambition, the older figure in the team, the shot caller, and they've been able to bring it all the way to semifinals. Ruler's only been playing AD carry professionally for a year. CoreJJ support for 3 months. And, you know, you have people like Crown that have come across from the CB LOL. This team was kind of mismatched together, but boy, has it worked out in their favor.
Yeah, and then you take that story and juxtapose it with how dominant they've been at Worlds. They have the fewest losses of any team here. They have the fastest average win time, and they have decent early game advantages, but this team really takes off after 15 minutes and closes the game out quickly.
Yeah, they go off in the 15 to 20 minute mark. Every single game, they either find an opportunity themselves or they just force their opponents to make a mistake seemingly randomly, but because it happens so consistently, we have to credit Samsung for that fact. And honestly, they're 6-0 right now with CoreJJ. They have been swapping him in and out with Rafe on the support position, but it seems every time they swap him in, they just play that little bit more aggressive. He doesn't really do that much more in lane, but it seems that every player plays much better when CoreJJ is in a team.
It's some type of environment thing with this, guys, and you can speak as a player. Sometimes when you have that guy that comes in, people just gel and play better around him, and that seems to be what's happening with CoreJJ.
Could even be a communication thing. When somebody just says a little thing, it nudges the communication forward.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, of course, he's only been playing support for 3 months, professionally for longer than that. But to make that kind of transition with a team and to have this kind of team-wide effect is pretty stellar.
And that's what it is, right? It's a team-wide effect because they play more aggressive, they draft around it, their laning phase is great. And when you have a look at this lineup and just how they click and gel, it has become such a no-brainer to start who was a sub at the start of Worlds in the semi-final now, and you've got to really give the player credit for that.
On the other side of this matchup, we do have H2k, who have had a similar run through the tournament.
Yeah, and you look at this team, and it seems like they're gelling at exactly the right time because they never really put it all together during the European splits, where they were never even able to make it to a finals. You look at this team on paper, they have tremendous individual players, but either someone has been underperforming or the team has completely lacked cohesion. Yet here at Worlds, they're winning their lanes consistently, and they're actually able to close the game. So finally, it's like the dream team that H2k has always wanted to be together.
Yeah, and with Forgive and Return, their early game is so impressive. They have statistically the best early game of the entire tournament, and it's honestly very reminiscent of a style SK Gaming used to play with that same Forgiven. And it's aggressive lanes, mid, bot, and top. CS differences galore, always winning in the early game. And that's also what H2k will need to do in this particular matchup today. It is win lane, win game, because Samsung is a mid to late game powerhouse, but H2k have the tools and especially the cohesion and synergy, it seems, in this tournament to actually create potential upset.
And Spawn, looking at the graph, I think a lot of people, the criticism they'll throw is, hey, what about the strength of schedule and the level of competition that H2k has been up against?
And I guess that's the last remaining question, right? They're able to take it to the wildcard teams, both of them. They're able to beat out EDG, who played Worlds horribly, honestly. considering expectations, and AHQ, who we knew was not going to be able to step up this year just because of their relative strength. However, when you have a look at how they're winning against these teams, that's where it becomes impressive, because it's not like the games are being drawn out. They play so quickly. They build these leads through the laning phase and then rotate it around the map much more cleanly in the last couple of weeks. I really do think there is something to this team.
Yeah, that's the thing. If they had just been averagely beating weaker competition, you could actually fault them for having a weaker strength of schedule. But when they're beating these guys better than anyone else is beating other teams in the tournament, you can't fault them for that because they're doing all they can.
All right, well, now that we have the big picture in mind, let's go ahead and zero in on some of the individual matchups and where these teams are going to be clashing. Let's start in the top lane, Odoamne versus Kuve.
Yeah, and this is incredibly exciting because Kuve was one of those players that came in through the gauntlet run in the LCK, solo killing some days, most solo kills at Worlds with 11, and he's going up against Odoamne, someone who I've always rated incredibly high. This is a guy that partners up with the jungler so well on the top side of the map, and they're able to take over games.
Exactly, just like you say, you got to expand that pairing. We need to look at Odoamne with Jankos and Kuve with Ambition, and that's then potentially where H2k have their kind of trap card enabled, because the pairing between Odoamne and Jankos is seemingly much better, and that could be a way to beat Kuve. He himself is a monster, but even the best players die 2v1.
Yeah, both of these players have actually really stepped up in the top lane, but I'm even looking at the mid lane where you had Crown, who is expected to be an incredibly good mid laner here, and Ryu, who after a lot of mediocrity in Europe, people weren't expecting to shine. But I feel like Ryu carried a number of games for H2k, specifically when they went 4-0 in that group stage, the first player to excel on Rise, and I think he's playing some of the best League of Legends he has ever played. Can't wait for this mid lane match.
Yeah, he definitely hit the slump when he had to go for his visa in spring, came back from Korea after Selfie subbed in for just a few weeks there, and it seemed H2k ever since was in shambles. But with Ryu stepping up, with Odoamne stepping up, it actually enables the man in the bot lane. Forgiven can now play his favorite styles, and many critics, including myself, have said very often, you know what, Forgiven always just pushes on the tower and then can get ganked. But in the quarterfinal versus Albus Luna, he actually showed versatility. They backed off when they could read a gank on the map, allowing Odoamne and Ryu to play farther forward. They backed off, then they pushed again, essentially playing 2v3 and being a service to their team. And with that flexibility in mind, I'm excited to see if H2k can continue this against a better team.
Yeah, I completely agree, because, you know, we've still got the 5 Caitlyn games there for Forgiven, but we've also got 2 Sivir, 2 Lucian, so this guy is expanding the champion pool. He's looking to play utility when he has to, and teaming up with Vanda, a lane that I thought maybe had one great player and one player that would struggle on the world stage, has seemed to come together at the right time again.
And when we talk about incredible laning statistics, I mean, you saw there on your screen, CS differential for Forgiven, absolutely nuts, along with the KDA. And Jat, jokingly yesterday, Deficio said that he, you know, God-given, would put his hat in the ring for best player in the world. But this really is about building a legacy for him, and here he is on the semifinal stage.
This is the chance where he can build a legacy. If he can beat a Korean team in a best-of-5 at Worlds, that would be a first for the European region, and he has been the one that kind of came in and in a sense saved this team. Freeze was out with injury, H2k was struggling, and Forgiven came in. So if he's able to play with the team and still have that individual performance, that's where he can really define himself.
But this is where the matchup gets incredibly exciting for me, because we're talking about one team that plays through laners. It's going to take over sub 15 minutes. Then we're talking about Samsung, the team that sets up so many traps through good vision, 15 to 22 minutes, and then crushes teams. It's so hard to tell exactly how they do it, because they're doing it in different parts of the map, but their warding, their vision control, and their ability to execute is second to none at the moment.
But we also have to count in pressure, and H2k historically have cracked under pressure in best-of-5s. They also parted ways with Forgiven in the past. They look to have mended most of those issues already, and they're playing, honestly, much better than anybody really expected. But we need to see if they can keep going, use that momentum forward, and play their signature style of all those strong lanes, getting in the gold lead, getting into the mid-game with that lead.
All right, time now to distill all this information into your predictions for tonight. So which is going to be the team to move on and challenge SKT for the Summoners Cup? Crepo,
if we're looking at all these things we just mentioned, it looks really good on paper for H2k. Strong lanes, everybody showing up, jungle and top synergy, but we haven't talked too much about how good Samsung White is, how little vision they need to really read the map, and it's for that reason, from the 20 to 40 minutes, I think the late game shot calling for Samsung is so much better. If it ever comes to a Baron contest, I think they will just take it. And H2k is simply a little bit too weak in the late game. So I'm going with Samsung Galaxy 3-1.
All right, that's our first vote. Spawn, what you got for me?
Yeah, when I have a look at this on paper, I do the exact same thing. I look at Jankos and Odoamne, one of my favorite duos, and I think these guys could do it, but I think they can only do it for a game. Then you have a look at Samsung, and they just have such strength, and I think they are a disciplined lineup, even though they are so young. I think that they will win this one. I think it's going to be 3-1, and I think that they even have what it takes to step up against SKT as well. So I'm a big fan of this team.
Another vote for the Korean team. Jat?
H2 what? H2 Korean teams in finals. I definitely feel
Baited.
like all the things these guys have said was generally correct because I thought it was a good joke.
It
I
was,
think it's
to
good.
be honest.
It segues into the prediction quite well. H2K have dominated teams in the laning phase. That's how they've won. And even though Samsung hasn't done it to the same level, Samsung is still the best laning team H2K has played against. I've thrown the crowd off. Now they're just defaulting to
I
TSM
hate to
chance.
inform everybody in this arena, but TSM is not playing tonight.
Specifically, though, Samsung is the best laning phase team that H2K has played against at Worlds, and they also have the best map rotations, which is why I think they can take it. But even if it's generic, I think 3-1.
If H2K take it, however, it is not an upset. They definitely deserve to be here in the semifinals already. They distinctively beat EDG.
Yep.
If you look at their draws, they had a 2 out of 3 chance to either draw C9 and ANX, and they would have smashed both those series. So they definitely deserve to be here.
Totally.
They are not complete underdogs, but if we just look at all the information given, Samsung just leans forward.
It's the matchup. It's how the teams match up. All right, now for an alternate look at the action, hit up the player experience stream where Pastry Time, Azael, and Zyrene, along with our special guests Froggen and Inori, focus in on specific matchups across the map. Now, as we head to the Casters for Game 1, Ambition says his team's journey to Worlds was anything but expected.
월드 챔피언십에 간다고 얘기를 들었었다면 솔직히 저희는 믿지 않았을 것 같아요. 왜냐면 저희는 완전 신생팀이랑 다름이 없었고 그리고 워낙에 한국이란 곳이 좀 월드 챔피언십에 올라가기 되게 힘든 곳이라고 생각하고 저희가 실제로 저희는 스프링 시즌에는 플레이오프도 못 갔었어요. 그래서 뭐 그때 당시의 목표는 플레이오프만 가자였는데 이게 어떻게 여기까지 오게 된 것 같아요.
We'll have to find out how far they can make it. Hello, Madison Square Garden. My name is Trevor Quickshot Henry, and joining me for the cast of this semi-final is Sam, Kobe, Hartman, Kenza, and Martin DeFiscio Lunga. And hearing from the guys there, it's more difficult to get to Worlds from Korea. That's not really a surprise.
No, I mean, it is very difficult. I still think it's fantastic to see Samsung make it all the way to the semi-final. They're obviously looking at the final, but so is H2K. Do not count them out.
I know. I'm super excited for the games today after what magic happened yesterday. I hope that we can deliver.
Well, it's more difficult to get here. It's a lot easier to win if you're Korean, it seems. We'll find out if that's true. Starting up on the blue side, it is, of course, Samsung Galaxy. QV in the top lane, Ambition in the jungle, Crown the mid lane, Rulen Core JJ, AD carry and support with their coach, Edgar.
And today they're facing the last Western hope, H2K, with Odo Amna up in the top lane. Yankas in the jungle, Ryu as the mid laner, Forgiven as the AD carry, Vander down the bottom lane with the mass support, and Prolly, of course, the coach behind the team.
Yeah, we'll find out what Prolly can do. A guy who's been maybe notoriously stubborn in picks and bans. Gentlemen, as we
We've
jump
seen it a few times.
into this one, obviously H2K's got some history, but Samsung Galaxy throughout Worlds have put themselves in challenging lane matchups, sometimes losing lane matchups. Do you expect that trend to continue, Kobe?
I don't. I think that they do have the respect, especially from watching H2K's games. They know that H2K are going to play strong early game, and I don't expect them to draft that many losing lanes.
No, exactly. But still, H2K will have some advantage in the early game. I feel like if we look at what the team is doing well, it is these fantastic strong laners. They have certain picks down in each lane. Caitlyn is one of them. Sadly for H2K, they will not be playing Caitlyn right now.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to let Forgiven have Caitlyn for the entire series. Similar things could be said for Ruler's Jhin, though, as it's been extremely potent for Samsung as well.
Another thing we got to track here is Syndra. Samsung has banned the last 7 games. They've, funny enough, also won the last 7 games. But no matter what side they were on, they banned away that Syndra pick. We know Rio likes to play it. Crown does play it a lot in solo queue, so he should be able to pull it out. So far, it's not banned.
So far, also, if you follow the bans here, H2K, whenever you see a Poppy ban, first thing that does jump to mind is the Jace pick, especially for Odoamne, who was such a great pilot of the champion in their previous series, but Samsung immediately answer with the Jace ban right there, so not going to be the option.
And we almost know Nidalee is going to be removed as well when you're on purple side against a strong Nidalee jungler. They're saving it again. I wonder if they want to see if Samsung wants to ban it on blue side, or H2K has something special prepared for the first game where they're fine giving away such a power pick for 2 strong picks in their rotation. And Crown, you disappoint me.
Well, no surprises just yet in terms of the Syndra Jace. Caitlyn, one last ban for H2k, running the clock down on every single pick, but no curveballs yet.
Well, yeah, and the other thing that people might be thinking we're overlooking here is the Aurelion Soul, but both of these teams have not prioritized it very highly, so we don't expect them to. Yes, the mid laners could play the champion, but I don't expect it to be a high priority. Meanwhile, the Rise was very strong from both of them, and that gives over that Nidalee. That is so big if you can get strong lanes especially, though. And H2k probably have faith in their laners to be able to collapse and protect the jungle.
And I wonder if Jankos wants to play Lee Sin against it. It's something European junglers have done in the past. You get to level 6 on Lee Sin, get double longsword, and you try and just duel the Nidalee and kind of burst her down very, very quickly. So it is a matchup. He's obviously played a lot, but it's so risky, giving away the S-tier jungler to also a jungler like Ambition, who's been playing really well so far in this tournament.
Especially, yeah, I mean, Ambition's been playing the game since 2012, and he even played mid lane Nidalee. This guy definitely has the experience on the champion.
Yeah, Bako Zubu plays. I actually had the pleasure of casting him here in New York 4 years ago when they swept the world. This time around, Ambition will be leading the way on that jungle champion. And we need to see what Pro decides to do throughout the course of this series. The other picks that have risen to popularity, Zyra and Olaf. Now the question, gentlemen, will Misfortune be played by CoreJJ? Because Reddit taught me that solo queue, both of these guys are playing it.
Yeah, and also we know Samsung has been scrimming against the Rocks Tiger, so obviously they have seen the pick in these scrims here. It was something that was played in Korean solo queue as well, even before World started. So he should have it. The Ashe is another one. Rula has been spamming Ashe the last day, basically. The last 7 games, he's played 5 of them on Ashe.
We very well could see that same Ashe and Misfortune lane. I mean, CoreJJ was also an 80 carry previously, playing in North America as well.
Well, Madison Square Garden definitely wants to see it. There was rumbles of MF throughout the crowd.
There it is!
And the thing about MF...
It's done! It's done!
It's so good against Zyra because it's so easy to dodge Zyra's damage in the lane phase due to the extra movement speed that she also brings and the range on Make It Rain.
And Zyra does not offer any sort of sustain. There's no shielding, there's no healing, so you just keep getting poked down ever so slightly, and then when you're low enough, well, you get all in by an Ashe arrow and an MF ulti, and then you die. H2k knew about this pick. The entire world knows about this pick now, so they can't be surprised.
Here's one thing that is popping out to me, though. Previously, Samsung, trend I've seen in all their team comps, they love having at least one tank. And Poppy is banned from the top lane. They do not have a tank in the jungle. They do not have a tank at support. Is this going to be a look from Samsung where they don't run with that solid front line because they have relied on strong 5-on-5 late game, and if you lose a tank from your team comp, it makes it really hard to face check Brush. That being said, they do have the Ashe, though, for the Hawk Shot.
Yeah, they do have some sort of way to engage Angered Vision, but there is still picks like Echo up in top, and there is not. None of them are great matchups against Kennen, though, so I really like this Kennen pick. When you have Jace being removed, who's the best pick against Kennen, there's really no hard lanes for him to play. So this puts Odo Amne in a pretty good situation. Let's see if they're more surprised.
I would love to see a Kled.
We've seen very little Kled so far.
I'm not believing it just yet. Not believing it just yet.
It's gotta be probably the Echo.
Let's get back to what was actually drafted then, because we didn't talk about the Sivir. Sivir speed boost is so important for both Olaf and Kennen to be able to engage on this back line. We talked about how many ranged champions Samsung have. They have a very squishy back line. If the extra speed can allow Kennen, to dodge into the back line and get there with the Proto Belt Flash plus the Olaf follow-up, then that could be the hard engage that H2k are banking on.
And I wouldn't mind seeing something like Orianna coming in here last from Rio. He's a guy who can play so many different picks. There's still things like Malzahar as well if he wants that. Aurelion Sol, if he wants to surprise us and have something that can actually roam and impact the side lanes. Orianna was a matchup we saw yesterday, though. Faker won that matchup every time. Got a lot of pressure in lane. Could roam first. And that is something H2k needs right now because they're not going to win this bot lane easily.
Well, how about some crazy picks? We were discussing off air whether or not a last pick Kassadin is something that an EU mid laner could pull out. I don't think it's going to be the case here, but a customary hover for Ryu Z. 10 seconds left on the clock.
It's not time yet.
No, not yet.
He's got to make it to the finals to face Faker before he pulls that one out.
Going to be the Cassiopeia, so movement speed from Siv is going to help out, but not the longest of ranges. A little surprising to me.
Definitely a daring pick there, versus Crown's Victor, who has been, his most prolific champion, very, very strong. And he's also been able to ward off ganks very effectively, even getting return kills in like 2v1 scenarios. So definitely Samsung do have the confidence in that pick for him, even though the tank that they did end up picking, Echo, is one of those unreliable tanks that's a little bit harder to peel for the rest of the champions. Crown's gravity field have been very, very strong.
Yeah, they have enough CC coming from something like Ashe as well to kind of keep people away. Ashe can kind of peel for herself, but yeah, a little bit different pick and ban phase in some way, I guess. Getting a Victor for Crown always makes it very stable, though. Yeah. That's his most played champion, obviously. We see it almost every game when it is available. I think H2k, though, will have a strong top side of the map. Cannon up there is going to be good. You can definitely duel early as an Olaf, and Cassiopeia will be fine in the mid lane. So I'm expecting to see them focus on that side, but they have to look out for that level 6 bot lane with Ashe MF, because otherwise Vanda is going to die.
Yeah, we have seen that multiple times before with the Ashe MF lineup.
And it worked yesterday against SKT. If it's good enough for SKT, we're sure it's good enough for H2k. We're going to find out how these two teams perform and whether or not allowing that Victor through instead banning the Rise was the right decision. You guys jump onto Twitter, let us know. Put your voices and your hands together if you think hashtag SSG will win, or if you think the last Western team will be able to shut down support MF with hashtag H2k win. This is what is on the line. A shot at the Summoners Cup. A shot at the undoubtable strongest team League of Legends has ever seen in SKT, and one of these two will go up against them. It's a semi-final from Madison Square Garden. Samsung Galaxy taking on H2k.
And I'm glad to see MF again. We knew more teams have been playing it. So far, undefeated at Worlds, 100% win rate, 2-0. They're banned in 2 games as well in the semi-final.
Oh, a lot of action here!
Okay, well, there we go. This is going to be problems. Ambition is low! Okay, H2, what was that? They've killed Ambition!
So space check, bottom lane!
Both teams did exactly the same. They wanted to send the junglers with the dual lanes down to that lane and hide in the bush. Problem was, Ambition was the guy who face-checked, and that's why he died.
The observers almost even weren't ready for this. We have to replay because it happened so early.
No, the ward got placed on him, and he ignored the ward and walked into the bush. He saw the ward being placed right at his feet.
Let that be a lesson to you. Don't drop a ward on Ambition or he'll face-check you.
Don't first pick that Nidalee. H2k knew.
It's not the Nidalee's fault. I'm gonna go with it's not the pick fault right there.
What?
That's definitely the pilot.
All right, so we're off to a crazy start here in the semi-final. Longsword picked up for Forgiven. That's gonna help make this lane just a little more sustainable.
Yeah, that is huge for H2k and fits our story. H2k being so strong early game. Yay, already have a goal lead in this game. Our storyline is legit.
Predicted.
But H2k, it is huge for them getting that first spot. Small item advantage bot lane. Everything H2k can get will help them because it is a super tough lane. Ashe and MF.
The thing is, it's actually so rare to get one of those kills early enough to recall and to return to the lane with that longsword. So he actually has that combat power for the lane phase. See here, Ryu though going toe-to-toe.
Trading back and forth with those twin fangs. Core JJ no flash, so if he continues to play aggressively, there may be an opportunity for Jankos to come in. There we go. Make it rain, and a couple of autos from Core JJ zoning Forgiven away.
That's always what happens when you see these level 1s and someone has to use a summoner. The game plan can change for the team. Jankos will need to get that blue buff, get back some mana, and is actually healthy enough to gank. Ghost is ready very soon for him as well if he wants to go for something. But Samsung should know they've already placed a few walls on bottom side. Jankos might have to take the long route around the Dragon Pit. That's actually what he's doing at the moment. He's not spotted so far.
Yeah, he definitely is going for the bottom lane since he passed up the Scuttle Crab. Normally, we definitely see him take that early, and he's got the route into the bottom lane.
Ghost is going to come up shortly. Samsung Galaxy, they're in trouble. The flash route from Vanda. Core JJ's the target. Game over. Jankos gets a kill.
So smart. I love talking about these layers of mind games in the early game where you only have few trinket wards to rely upon. No flash. Oh, never mind. We got more action.
Ryu's in so much trouble. Pounce is flashed away from, but Ambition gets one back. Scuttle Crab is going to be the focus. There may be a contest. Javelin toss comes out. Ambition's gone into Cougar.
Oh,
smite
smited
it away. Throws the flag. Now, gentlemen, despite the kill back, H2k are 8-0 when securing first blood. Is it too early to throw that out there?
Slightly too early.
It's
Slightly
early.
too early.
We're watching Ambition's revenge right now as he goes and takes the solo kill and then the scuttle crab.
Yeah, and some really bad things actually happened for H2k there. Ryu, we saw that one. Ryu ended up using both summoners, but he didn't flash the spear. He took it straight in the face, used both summoners after, and still died. And also Vanda had to flash in the bottom lane to set up that kill on him if they didn't want to risk Nidalee showing up for counter gank. And now Ryu has to summon.
Ryu's dead, no doubts about it. There we go. Number 1, you gave Crown Victor. Number 2, you stepped on his gravity field.
And Ambition on point with the flares as well. After that early first blood, he's got something to prove. Even with the miss a spear on the scuttle crab, you're kind of wondering, is Ambition's Revenge a horror movie or a comedy? He comes back, gets another kill onto Ryu after burning those summoners.
If you have to miss a spear, do it under Rift Scott.
Yeah,
Don't do it on
practice
Ryu. He's been able to hit Ryu twice now. Obviously, Ryu was stunned here, had no summoners. So everything that went so well in the bottom lane is kind of gone now for H2k because Ryu misplayed so badly in the mid lane, and Ambition been able to pick up 2 kills, and that is huge. Mid control for Samsung with Nidalee as a jungler.
Nidalee is going to provide so much for this Samsung squad. Also, he still has flash as well, so adding extra kill pressure there, now level 6. But let's kind of return to the bottom lane because so much action happened and it was kind of funny, but the setup from H2k was so smart. They know that Samsung are going to be expecting that early gank down bottom and probably place that river ward. So Jankos does go into the enemy jungle, bypasses everything, and makes a beeline for the summoner-less MF. Here he comes back for a return gank.
Vision snuck in, hasn't been spotted. Samsung aren't overextending.
Oh,
Jankos is
shot the other way.
Jankos is still sticking around. Roots not going to find Core JJ. Now remember, longer this sticks around, the more Jankos is losing out on.
Ghost is coming up too.
Oh, Core JJ, insta-flash, another undertow. Jankos is looking for more. Vander's going low. The Unforgiven goes down, no summoner heal. They've traded 1 for 1. Jankos is looking for Ruler. Ruler's still got a flash available. Here comes Ambition. Sidestep for the Javelin toss. Undertow comes out. Ambition, he fancies this. Javelin toss, body block by Jankos. Boomerang tags on both directions. Jankos throws down the vicious strikes and reckless swing. Ambition's not done.
Yeah, the reason they couldn't 100% turn on Ambition there is because he still has flash. They're respecting the execute that could happen on Forgiven, so they back off here and they don't take the 2v1.
Everyone gets to back away now from the H2k side. Jankos back in the jungle. Also, we have Forgiven back in base. Let's see it again. So Jankos throws the axe on Core J pretty far away from himself, has to pick it up, and they do get the kill, but Vander ends up actually overextending. And then it's only Jankos against Ruler here in the end. Forgiven too low to do anything, but I like the jungle pathing from Jankos early. First gank bot lane, then he sneaks in as well. We saw the Hawkshot go the opposite way from Ruler, not finding anything. And therefore, they didn't know if Olaf was waiting or not.
Well, no flash once again for Core JJ. Jankos spending so much time in this bottom lane. We've not really seen Ryu farming away mid. Down 2 waves worth of CS. Odoamne, however, has picked up the same amount over Cuvée. So Ryu struggling with those no summoners and being bullied by Crown's Victor.
Yeah, we haven't really had the action up top side, even though Kennen is going to be so crucial to this team comp for H2k. It's going to be so much about, can Odoamne get to that squishy backline and avoid all the gravity field, the parallel convergence. But that's going to be way down the line as we've got a lot of early action in this one. And with all that early action, we're only 100 gold apart.
But it shows what kind of game we're going to get here.
Oh, yeah.
Samsung can actually battle with H2k in the early game. They can match them. That's been one of the great things about this Samsung team, how these individual players have really stepped up. If you look at the Gauntlet and you look at Worlds, they've been able to match some of the absolute best players in the world in the laning phase. They rarely fall behind, and they can skirmish, they can team fight. If they get an advantage early on and get to late game, we know they're a massive powerhouse. For now, though, we're still early on. H2k and Samsung, dead even.
Yeah, and Ambition is still on a warpath. Goes and steals away the blue there from H2k, which is pretty big, considering Ryu's getting bullied out of mid lane.
Now, take a look at that. Just being pushed away by Crown once again. Jankos going to run toe-to-toe with Ambition, decides he doesn't want to fight just yet. Turns around, hits him with the meat, throws out another undertow. Flash still up for Ambition. Support's not coming from Core JJ. Jankos doesn't even need to sidestep that one. Actually hit so many of those undertows already.
It's just insane how this game is all about bot lane right now. After those kills we had early on, summoners being blown, no flash from Core JJ at the moment.
It's because of the evolution of the bot lane meta here at Worlds, right? We're just adding more and more damage, highest damage supports that you can bring to the bottom lane, and then summoners being down on those vulnerable supports really does attract a lot of attention. Meanwhile, top lane, they're still trading.
Yeah, we're gonna see Odoamne winning this matchup for a few minutes still, until we get more MR on the Echo and he can actually start surviving and just constant wave clear. At some point later on, Echo will be able to even jump on the cannon and barely take any damage. But early on, Odoamne will be fine. The problem for H2k is they're not able to snowball it more. They're not able to get a big advantage top because Jankos is spending all his time in the bottom lane.
We'll find out if they can open that advantage. In 10 of Odoamne's 11 games at Worlds, he's led in CSD at 10 minutes. So definitely someone going to rely on if he can flank with that cannon.
And exactly, that's a great point to bring up, because unlike Jace, where he was all about pushing down turrets and that 1v1, Kennen brings so much power to the team fight phase. When we transition down to that dragon area, and we start to see more people join. Here we go, Jankos though up top with the Raptor buff, by the way, so he knows there's no ward.
Flashes are available. Insta-stun. Cuvee not going to survive. Not going to chrono break. H2k get another.
And Cuvee is sitting with his Trinket Ward available, but he didn't place it. Wants to just clear one more wave and probably just go back to base, return to lane, and then start putting up vision. Jankos found an opening, just had that pink ward, so he knew there was no ward there. And goes in, gets an easy kill. And that's exactly what we talked about before. H2k wanting to snowball this top lane. And they got the kill.
Yeah, but at what cost, gentlemen? Ambition's going to be soloing the dragon. Cuvee started his teleport. You can see it on the minimap. Tower is under pressure. Cuvee's actually going to commit to this one. A little bit of damage from Jankos onto Odo, and I don't think they're going to get Tower first blood.
Yeah, that is crucial because, trading... Oh, here we go, though. A little bit more of a trade. But trading Dragon, for first turret gold would actually be pretty good for H2k, considering they also got the kill. Remember now, the big difference is going to be this teleport.
Oh, flash away! Vander gets out of the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but that's the combo that Samsung guys were looking for. Waiting for the rinse and repeat. Javelin toss won't find a target. Ambition's just going to pounce away to safety, but now Vander's going to play so careful.
Always important to see very quick cross-map reactions. Or if you're doing something top lane, we will do something down the bottom lane, Dragon over to Samsung, and then also forcing that flash. So next time Ruler has his ulti, Vander will die.
Plus, it's important to look at, the mini objectives that we have in League of Legends. Before going for that Dragon, Ambition did the homework of putting down wards in the blue quadrant jungle of H2k. Now it's so much easier and safer for Samsung to go replace those wards and retain control around this area for consecutive Dragons and consecutive plays around bottom lane.
He's still down here in the bottom lane, but so is Jankos. Now it's very easy for H2k to kind of read the play. We have no flash in our support. Enemy junglers warded up our bot side jungle. There's a high chance he's still around. And that's why Jankos has been pathing straight from base all the way down here for a potential counter gank. These wards will expire though. It will just be river control for Samsung, and we're waiting for that Ashe ultimate.
Well, before we get to that, Cuvee's once again going to jump on Odo. Slicing Maelstrom is available, a bunch of minions to help out, and Odo backs away, but still getting collapsed on every time Cuvee can. Doesn't look like it's over just yet. Phase Dive is off cooldown, as is Time Winder. There we go, tagging both. And Odo forced to run away.
Yeah, we can see it gets harder and harder for Odoamne to take these trades because the MR is just going to keep racking up on this Echo here, and he can keep jumping and trading over and over.
And what we really need to look for are wards placed to give Odoamne an opportunity to use this teleport advantage. Cuvee had to use his to get back to lane and protect that first turret gold. That means that Odoamne has the potential for a pretty big play, considering the power that he will be at once he hits level 11 will be huge, especially on bottom lane.
And you guys just saw a hawk shot flying right behind Jankos. Basically, Ruler is able to scout 3 camps on top side to see where exactly is the jungler. Is there any camps down so we can kind of figure out his path if he's not there already. They did see him on the red buff, so they know he's top side. This should be enough information for Cuvee to not play too aggressive, and you can see on your minimap, he's backing away.
I do expect the first turret gold to spark the next big fight. Top line, H2k has the top turret down pretty low, and bottom side, Samsung have done a lot of work whittling down that turret. Be careful about getting baited in for that first turret gold. It is a huge objective, but they don't have the teleport from top side for Samsung.
Not just yet. Cuvee jumps back into lane with that chrono break. Ambition looking to once again get in there and just clear this buff out. I mean, it belongs to Samsung. That's what, 3 in a row now? He's in trouble. Remember, no chrono break. Jankos just threatening pressure because of that juicy tower.
As long as H2k can get this top tower down, then they're okay surrendering the bottom side. Yes, it sucks for Forgiven. He's on a utility-focused champion, though, and he can just buff up the rest of his team.
They're going to lose the race, though. They haven't done it quick enough.
Not at all. So, tower first blood secured by Samsung Galaxy. They temporarily hold a gold lead. It is now 1,500 gold. Gentlemen, we're about to hit the 15-minute mark. That is about when... Oh, hold that thought. Enchanted Crystal Arrow flying. Ryu sidesteps, stuns up Ambition. Uses the Ghost to slither to safety.
That's the kind of play we want to see under pressure from Ryu. Not the ones we saw earlier where he gets the spear in the face, flashes after, still dies. Good reaction here with the Ghost. And the problem for H2k was simply they couldn't get enough damage on tower without the jungler being there. Bottom lane, Samsung's dual lane got enough damage on tower alone, and then Ambition joined to finish the tower.
To finish off that thought, between 15 and 25 minutes is where Samsung Galaxy have finished a lot of their games in recent weeks. H2k now need to show that they can compete in the mid game. Pressure onto Ryu, support from Jankos. That Javelin didn't find its target, and it looks like the wave is going to be the primary focus here to try to push Samsung away.
Yeah, some very good dodges here from Ryu to be able to stay in lane and collect some extra gold. He had a pretty rough laning phase considering the extra ganks that Ambition sent towards the mid lane and burning his summoner so often, so he has been able to scrape by here, but we're transitioning to that very critical point pretty soon where it is going to be more about the flanks. There's the level 11 on the top laners.
And I really like Samsung's mid game. You know, when you get the full Hex core on Victor, he can easily sit and wave clear forever, has enough damage to be a threat. Ashe gets her first item, the Essence Reaver, and can start firing ultis away. And that's where you can create a lot of picks if you're Samsung. And H2k, they have to be able to react instantly and take the fight.
Right. Well, H2k gonna have to react here. Crown gets rooted up. Vander's now the target, flashes away from the Crystal Arrow. He didn't get punished last time that it happened, but it feels like this will be different.
Yeah, those are pretty big summoner clone here. Not Forgiven, actually. The targets.
Well, not going to blow any of his summoners. Odo's come to reply. Didn't use his teleport, though. Just came straight from base with that Protobuff.
Remember, with the importance of this fight, coming up on the next dragon, the wards place. You have to keep track of both the defensive and offensive vision.
Ooh, Forgiven. Really holding his nerve. Not using that flash or heal just yet. But the tower stands. H2k somehow hold off. They're still trailing in gold. They're trailing in pressure by a very large margin. And a lot of that has to do with the impact that Ambition has had in allowing their lanes to survive.
Yeah, obviously H2k gave away that Nidalee. We knew it was going to be first pick if it was open. Ambition has had a fine game so far on it. It's actually done his job. Gank around mid side, put a lot of pressure on side lanes, just throwing spears over the wall, trying to force them off these turrets here. And Samsung are in a perfect position, honestly, for them. They're going to have super strong side lanes soon. They're going to be good in team fights as well, and they can create picks with the Ashe.
Yeah, and even, giving over that Nidalee, Jankos has had a pretty good Olaf game. He can't keep up in farm with the Nidalee, and Ambition is 2 levels ahead of him now, but he did have a lot of early game proactive plays to get them some sort of advantage. Here goes Juve.
Chrono Break and Flash is available. Odo's already proto-belted forward. Parallel Convergence buys some time. Exhaust onto Juve. He's going to keep alive for a few seconds longer. There goes the Flash. The dash. Not going to find the stun. And Odo gets the kill again at the cost of a dragon.
Yeah, H2k trading another kill here for another Mountain Drake over to Samsung. And it's so scary when one team starts stacking Mountains or Infernals. They have so much value in the mid to late game. H2k will try and push down the top side and get a bit of damage on tower, but they also need to defend mid. They're doing it.
Wave clear is pretty good. Forgiven's at least going to spell shield. Frost shot coming out of Rulez. We'll take a look through the middle. Once again, Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Super optimistic. Ruler ain't no prey today. Not finding the targets that we saw from yesterday. However, H2k still trailing, still in trouble. We're getting closer to 20 minutes. And earlier, I had said that H2k were 8-0 when they got first blood. This is also the first time they've been trailing in gold in 20 minutes. So maybe I'll take back that statement. I think it's...
I mean, the statement is still correct. It just doesn't mean they will win.
Okay. It was a loaded story I was going for.
We didn't get the wink on camera there. All right, let's see if Samsung can do anything with this vision control. H2k have done a pretty good job of, not venturing too deep into those areas. As Samsung's very, visibly have control of.
Yeah, we're kind of waiting for Odoamne to have a deep ward he can TP to, and he can join in the mid lane when you have Samsung sieging on these turrets here, because that mid tower is where Samsung's putting all their attention right now. Blue buff is going to be the quick objective for them, and Rio really wants it, sadly for him. He doesn't have Smite.
Ambition, so that's a steal. Next Dragon's going to be Ocean, and even though there's a Root and Ambition, Vander, still no flash available. He's got to be very careful.
And there is a ward now from H2k down here. It's being pinged on the minimap, guys, just behind the enemy blue buff, and that is the location probably for Odoamne, but it's a few seconds left on it only, so he has to go fast.
He has to go fast, and Ruler's going to look for Vander. Vander's caught between a rock and a hard place, and he's down. Here comes Jankos. He's throwing down the Righteous Glory, looking for Cloud. Traded 1-for-1. The Proto Bell's forward. Forgiven's on the board. JJ's dead. It's a 1-for-3.
The engage we spent so long setting up for this team with that cannon getting to the squishy backline.
Forgiven gets him. Ambition shuts down Forgiven, but now he's going to get poisoned to death. The Undertow comes out. Jankos is looking for more. Shuts him down. 2-for-4.
Honestly, perfect timing for H2k. They knew Samsung were pushing for that mid tower. They knew it was just a matter of time before the engage happened, and Odoamne had just a few seconds left on that ward. He pulled the trigger. They managed to get the engage, and they get a tower as well.
The problem is they lost the top tower at the same time. They still trail by 1,000 gold, but crucially, Odo, Jankos, and Forgiven, they've got the kills, they've got the gold, and here's a replay of how it happened.
Let's take another look, because we mentioned the wards, you're going to have to keep track of them. Vander stepping up because they knew they were going for the engage, and it didn't even matter that he got 100% in here, because Odoamne is in the back, so you know there's no escape. He actually maybe didn't even need a flash there, because Jankos and Forgiven were cleaning up with the extra speed.
Sadly, what happens very often if you're under so much pressure and you're forced to pull off a great engage to kind of stop the push from happening, your objectives are already taking a lot of damage, and mid tower goes down very quickly here.
And look at that damage after the fact, the team fight, 450 from Kennen. Wow, you know, that it was a great opportunity for them. Might have used a bit too much in that, as both Jankos, Forgiven, and Ryu had already cleaned up most of the kills.
Vander with the classic support move, though. Use everything on me. I don't need to do anything. And then write Worth in all chat right after.
Two big sacrifice.
I mean, the big thing there, Jankos turning it around. Ghost and Righteous Glory. He's going to get to Ruler or Core JJ extremely quickly. And as it stands, he's got enough damage to cause all sorts of problems for that backline of Samsung Galaxy.
He definitely is one of the stars of H2k. 4-0 and 5 now on the Olaf. And he's catching up in levels to Ambition as well.
But as we've seen historically, Samsung Galaxy taking control, taking the lead in the mid game. They maintain a gold advantage. They maintain control of the lanes. However, they cannot afford to get jumped on again like that by H2k.
No, and now where we don't have a teleport on Odoamne, everything will kind of slow down a little bit for H2k because it's hard for them to get a proper engage. It's kind of just Jankos popping everything and running at Samsung to start the fight. He's trying it right now.
To be fair, it's a lot.
For Core JJ, no flash available, can't get rooted by the gravity field. Forgiven gets the kill with the boomerang.
I guess that works.
Jankos gets another. The rest of Samsung are trying to group up, but they get themselves two.
Classic Deficio, set him up. But H2k, they learned from the last team fight, hey, we don't even really need that cannon flank, right? We took care of it ourselves. So they do it again. And man, they just pull the trigger there. Both speed boosts popped, and they take care of business so quickly.
And he has 100% kill participation on this Olaf here.
He's racking it.
He's literally just walking straight at Samsung, killing them. Baron is alive. They might actually start it. Vander isn't here. Cubase bot lane with TP, so it is still very, very risky this early on. No one can be attacking. Oh, yes.
The target is Ambition, looking to run him down. He's pounced away, gets out of range from the Noxious Blast. Odo, is he going to commit an ultimate to it? Yes, he will. That's two already used. They get themselves another kill. The crowd goes wild. Jankos still at 100%. Cubase teleported for this. Why did you teleport for that? He chrono break back.
Straight onto the tower now.
Us all.
Oh, he's going to get a push on the turret for it, though.
But at what cost? Can H2k go for a Baron? They got to teleport. They've got to back away.
Yeah, they're too low. There's a Victor, there's an Ashe, MF as well. Too much damage on the side of Samsung, really. Tower will take a bit of damage. Not a lot of minions here. QA will soon have to back away. Odoamne is here just to kick him out the door.
I'm glad we've had such an action-packed game here, though. You know, following up yesterday's excitement, definitely delivering here in Game 1.
And how good is H2k's late game? Let's find out. So this is
Look at this crazy man.
all the way back to the point that made Deficio wrong.
No, actually not. Because we did just mention how Olaf could pop everything like he did, Trevor. What a beast, man. Yangas is on fire.
I'm really, okay, so let's reset once again because there's been so much action. We need to focus on wards again. Wards, people, not the kills, because they're setting up for another dragon here. And the dragon area is fairly dark for both teams. H2k first to the site, though. They should be able to clean it up in time.
HK likes to get a free dragon here. Will gets spotted by the Hawkshot, doesn't really matter. Everyone trying to get the Rift Scuttler after. But really, we're in this situation where if Samsung can actually just set up the map and not fight, they're really, really strong side lanes because Victor's going to beat the Cassiopeia. Echo is now strong enough to really duel the Cannon as well. The problem for Samsung is when they tried to set up the side lanes, Yangas kind of clicked every single button on his keyboard and just kind of ran at two guys and killed them.
And it's so difficult to clear out vision on all sides. When all the outer turrets are down for both teams, okay, there's one left for Samsung there, but most of the outer turrets are down. It's so difficult right now to have complete security of vision coverage, to have the security that you know all of your flanks are warded. And Samsung would have to have that because Odoamne, not only does he have teleport, he has the flash and proto belt available, and he's working on that Zhonya's as well. Soon to follow, that will allow him to make even more aggressive dives.
Yeah, that's actually one thing I really like about Cannon versus something like Ashe, like a Victor as well, where when they put down some of their CC or zone control, if you don't have a dash, it's hard to get to them. But when you have dash and proto belt, flash and proto belt, you can always get there and you can always engage. Super, super effective from Odoamne, but he needs that deep ward you talked about, Kobe. He doesn't have it right now, and H2k are trying to set up for Baron.
And H2k have to show even more progression. Throughout Worlds, they've stepped up to be the team that a lot of people expected them to be for a long time, but now they've got their toughest test. The most difficult team they've competed against, and they have to win in the mid to late game when the setting is even.
Definitely gonna be tough, Odo. I'm actually using everything here.
He is indeed. Cube's still got that chrono break. No, he's used it actually. Odo throws out the shuriken, a dash over the wall. The stun still finds its target. Ash Arrow comes out, not gonna find Odo. There is some support coming from the rest of H2k, but I don't think they're gonna cut him off.
But that was pretty good from Cube because he gets a cannon ulti. That means H2k will have a much harder time team fighting. Yangas ghosted for that one ward. Doesn't get anything else. He really want to kill that ward.
I mean, he wanted to chase down Cube, but Cube too slippery there. I mean, Cube, talk about this guy. He has been one of the bright spots for Samsung ever since the Gauntlet. I mean, this guy has stepped up huge. Even during the season, he's been very adaptable, you know, varying champions, has played the tanks, has also played a lot of the mages from the top side for Samsung. Right now, though, 0-2 on the Echo, and looks like we talked about the variance between Kennen, what he's going to bring to a team fight, and the unreliable tank that Echo is. It's difficult to have tank Echo be your front line because parallel convergence, so hard to, you know, have that land on someone who's boosted up by Sivir speed and, you know, Olaf with his extra ghost.
Echo is definitely not main engage by any means. He's kind of the TP flank like Cannon. There's much less damage coming from the Echo.
And what they're lacking is peel, really, not even engage, because right now the backline's just getting charged
Kobe,
down.
are you telling me MF ulti doesn't peel? Probably not when Yangas is this fed.
It's pretty shiny.
He's going to continue to trade here. Odo just gets his Slicing Maelstrom available. Used his Proto Belt and also has Hourglass. The rest of H2k, they're playing the Vision game up in the top half of the map.
Yeah, so H2k have been trying to get Vision around this Baron here. This pink ward from Samsung you just saw on the bottom of your screen is very important because it actually stops H2k from having a ward here that Odoamne can TP onto and then instantly flank in and engage. So it's a good placement. They all obviously learned from the last ward placement here, but H2k have not really been able to completely take over the river. Whenever they set up a few pings, they then step back into mid lane, they lose one or two of them like we see here, and then have to kind of reset. Yangas is trying to flank.
We'll find out if he can. Looking to run down Ambition and Ruler. Ruler's the target. Undertow throws down the Raptor swing. Flash over from Ryu. He eats an Ash Arrow, but here comes Odoamne. He manages to get a kill onto Ruler. Goes golden with the Hourglass. Stranglethorns doesn't knock anybody out, but the Gravity Field does. Shutdown kill. Crowd takes down Odo. The rest of H2k back away, and Samsung, they trade 1 for 1, and they get a towel.
They're still splitting here. Cube over in the top side, able to push up all the way to the inhibitor turret now, and now H2k are forced with that decision. How do we get him off? Are they going to try and force something around Baron to bait out the teleport?
Look for the Nidalee Spears from Ambition. They can do a lot of damage right now. They want Cuvee to TP in here. He's coming now. Baron being started, going down fairly quickly from H2k side.
Samsung have to respond. Baron's still going low. Ambition connects.
They
The
can kill
flash
him.
over from Forgiven. They're looking for him. That's a kill. They've traded 1-for-1. Yankov running for his life. Ryu's cut down. And with Cuvee chasing, you're never going to outrun an Echo. Phase dive forward. Forgiven's getting chunked out. Time winder plus boomerang equals dead. Triple for Cuvee.
These are those intelligent late game decisions we talked about from Samsung. They keep the pressure in the side lane and force H2k into that difficult spot of trying to bait out that teleport. Then they get caught in the pit, and Samsung do collect the kills.
This entire game, Samsung have maintained map control, it feels like. Every single player that H2k have made work has not netted in objectives. They've only got 2 towers, they've only got 1 dragon. In contrast, 4 towers, 2 dragons, and now they even defend a Baron while on demand.
Yeah, so here they actually want to just back away as soon as TP happens and then take the fight and then try and get out of the river, get back to base, but they stay on Baron for too long. As soon as Cuvee left that bot lane, H2k should have left the Baron. They got caught in there, Vander got caught outside of the Baron pit as well here and goes down. And that's really the problem for H2k. I think you highlighted it so well, Trevor. Whenever they invest so much for these big fights, only once have we seen them get a few kills and actually a tower. Often it's like 1 kill here, force a few summoners, and then it kind of stops. And then you invest the teleport from Odoamne that is so key to starting these fights, and you can't really do the same.
Now look at it this way. Instead of Samsung giving up a kill for Dragon, they get a kill onto Vander and allows him to secure that Infernal Drake. No contest. That's the 3rd of the game. And H2k down 6k, down in Dragons, and they've been down in map pressure for 30 minutes.
Yeah, Ruler was able to hit that arrow on the flashless Zyra. Right now, though, Odoamne looks to re-engage.
Oh, he's even going to run away with that Z-Drive Resonance. Slicing Maelstrom not going to find the stun, and Cuvee, I think the quiet hero of Samsung Galaxy, he's had so much side lane pressure that H2k haven't been able to go further without losing things.
It's one of the things a lot of the Korean teams actually like Vander. Good sidestep this time around, but we've both seen Samsung and SKT do this. They pick these very scaling top laners. They can lose early game, fall down 20 CS, and it's not a problem because they will outscale whoever they're against in the 1v1 later on in the game. Very often become very tanky as well. We've seen the Poppy, we've seen the Trundle, we've seen the Echo, and you just sit in that side lane almost the entire game long, and you just push, 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 and then you join for a potential team fight. And we've seen it quite a few times now, both Cuvee and Duke.
And that is a risky strategy because that puts so much pressure on the 4-man squad to disengage.
OJJ is running for his life, throws down the bullet time. He's already chunked out. H2k invested quite a few things there. A couple of ghosts on the hunt as well. But the primary damage dealers for Samsung are still up. Here comes Cuvee. He jumps onto Yankos. Ragnarok is running. Righteous Glory's already been popped. Parallel Convergence doesn't find a target, and H2k, they manage to get away. But look at this again. They find a kill. There's no objective. Oh. Between the posts, Ruler doesn't find a target this time around.
And even though we criticize H2k for not finding more after the kill, it has actually stopped Samsung from really snowballing any further, because Samsung have had a goal lead for almost the entire game long. They've not been able to take a Baron. They have been getting good dragons, however, which is very key, and Samsung is in a perfect spot, honestly, for them. But they haven't really been able to run over H2k either because they keep losing 1 member.
And we're into the area where Samsung were considered stronger than H2k. Looking at this game, looking at this series, the expectation was that if the game went mid to late, Samsung Galaxy were going to be even more favored to take the whole thing. And as you can see by these map plays and by the controllers, Samsung have portrayed over the last sort of 12 minutes with the Dragons, and now even some vision around Baron. That's going to be the next target for them.
Exactly. I mean, this game, it's a lot of control right now for Samsung, but it just needs that one big teleport play for H2k to break it open. So, while yes, Samsung do have control, and it looks like if you go step by step and they can clear all the vision and keep that control, then they'll be able to march this one in. They still have to be very, very careful and watch out for those sneaky wards and the engages from H2k.
Odo actually used Proto Belt for that, cleared the wave out, got some good damage onto Cuvee.
I think that's really, really important to highlight again. H2k can win a team fight at any point in the game. There are 4 squishy targets on Samsung against something like Kennen and Olaf. both these two can get to that back line and take down one or two guys fairly easily. So Samsung will never hit a point where it's just an auto win in a team fight, but it gets easier and easier for them to fight when they get more defensive items in there.
And it's not like H2k are going to run out of damage either. They have a lot of scaling. Cassiopeia and Sivir are that's one of the 2 carry combos that's ideal in the late game. Both of those will be very, very strong as they take off. The Infinity Edge coming next for Forgiven, as there is not, you know, a pure armor stacking member on SSG that he really has to worry about.
It is very hard, though, for Cassiopeia in late-game fights to deal enough DPS because there's so many things that can kind of stop from getting too close. And if she's ever in range to start to Twin Fang, she often will die very, very quickly to something like Victor, something like MF ulti, and that makes it difficult for Rio to actually be consistent DPS, and it's more the 2 guys who can dive the backline.
That's why this game is still so tense, because they are going to be running forward. H2k, you know, Cassiopeia is going to have this front line of a Kennen zone that he's going to try and follow in behind. You kind of try to follow in the wake of the Kennen, and that kind of provides you the offensive screen that you need to get in there. But it's very, very precarious to try and pull off a team fight that way.
And Samsung done a good job again, kind of denying all the deep vision from H2k. There's only one ward in the middle of the mid lane here. And now one placed by Vandal that could potentially be TP'd on by Odama. This one's going to die. Ambition is going to spot another one. Take that one out as well. And this kind of removes all the flanking options for Odama.
That's problematic because H2k need to find a magical flank to claw this game back. Samsung has slowed the tempo down. 1 minute to Elder. Baron is already up, and you can see Ambition moving up to this top quadrant.
And let's look at it from Samsung's point of view here. They have the split push power, plus the pink wards on Baron. And remember, they got those 2 Earth Drakes very early. These are Double Mountain and Infernal for Samsung. They can threaten a Baron very, very quickly and even burn it down if it does come to that. So that's why the vision control is so big. And Ambition gets the red steal on top of all of it. Samsung have all the tools, the split push, plus the Baron control.
Even stealing with that red buff. Deficio, Cuvée is just going to town on Odo. Still farming away, got that GA as well.
He's going to town on his tower, honestly. That's the one he's trying to poke down. And it's what we talked about with these scaling top lane picks. Late game, they're so annoying to deal with. H2k need to just find a way to engage by Jankos popping everything, and they need to have a ward in a position where Odama can TP to it. You can see how Samsung are not starting Baron because they know that's the only way for them to really lose a big team fight. It's to group inside this Baron pit, get TP flanked by Odama, and then everyone just dies. So they keep playing the split pushing game, knowing that QV is so strong in the side lane.
And look how much they've been able to clean out the H2k vision. All of Samsung's side is spotless right now, and they're slowly working up towards this Baron area. Very dangerous.
And that means they can start it now, because they've made sure to clear every single ward. There's nothing behind them, and that Baron
Look how quick it's gone.
Second.
Double Mountain plus the Fire Drake. While all that's going on, Cuvé's even opened up the base. He's solo secured the inhibitor tower. And there seems to be nothing H2k can do. Samsung are in their element in the late game.
Yeah, we see why everyone praises them for being such a smart late game team. They never took a chance around the Baron, waited for all the vision to be cleared, saw 2 members from H2k in their lanes, and then said, okay, now we can rush it down. No chance of a big team fight.
Cuvée, by the way, used Chrono Break once again to get back into lane. Odo's the target. He's already used the Hourglass, running for his life.
Multiple points of pressure here for Samsung as well. That's why they're not collapsing on Cuvée, because the Baroned up minions here on top side, threatening to take the inhibitor turret.
Well, they're going to try to push away this wave down on the bottom. Again, Cuvé's left alone. This game is effectively 4v4 and 1v1. And it's Cuvée that's winning the whole thing. He brings the inhibitor with the help of those Baron-empowered minions. Madison Square Garden is silenced by the calculated play of Samsung Galaxy. They are running circles around H2k on the map, and no matter what H2k tries, they don't have the vision, they don't have the wards, they don't have the flanks, and it doesn't look like they're going to have game 1. Ambition takes a lot of damage from Jankos, but Crown returns it twice as much.
Let's see Rio taking a lot of damage up here, trying to defend, and every single tower just dropping low. And Samsung really show why they're so good late game, and it's beautiful to watch. They're slow and steady.
Well, flash away from Ambition. He was rooted up by Vanda. Again, Cuvée does not care about the rest of the team. He just wants to go where Odo is. sending a message. One of the primary carries on H2k. Running out of mana, but Cube should still be able to make it out. There we go. That Echo passive lets him run for days.
Definitely one of the more annoying passes.
Oh, look at that damage. Forgiven forced to flash away. Here comes Jankos. He can't flash over the wall. Very good gravity field. Cube has teleported up. He's looking for Forgiven. The damage isn't there though. Summoner heal was used. Cube's in trouble. Still got a GA. O1's already dead. He didn't even get down the slicing maelstrom. Crown gets his 5th of the game. Shuts down Ryu. Turns his attention to the Nexus turrets. And Samsung Galaxy are destroying H2k. Samsung Galaxy secure the win and continue their winning streak at Worlds.
And this game really shows why Samsung are the favorites in this matchup here, because they're good enough to match the early game of H2k, and once they get that advantage, get past the laning phase, we see this really safe, calculated Samsung play towards the late game. So many teams would have rushed Baron way earlier with double Mountain Drake saying we can just burn it down, and there could have been a ward for Diamond to TP on. A big fight could have happened, and H2k had a way back in the game. Samsung knew, wait, let the Echo scale in the side lane, don't give them the big team fight, and we are going to be more than fine.
That's why I really love watching games where there are two very distinct team comps here, two styles that they're trying to play. And H2k had a couple of good engages. The tension was building, but Samsung just too good at avoiding and keeping up that cross-map pressure.
Yeah, if H2k wants to beat this Samsung team, they can't make some of the mistakes we saw in the early game. Ryu dying twice in mid lane because he messes up the flash very early. That cost him a lot and cost the team a lot as well. They didn't get a big enough advantage after getting first blood, and that allowed Samsung to just keep it even and then slowly but surely get further ahead.
If there is one thing to say, the first blood was so early, it wasn't even full allotment of gold. The lane matchup is still topsy-turvy with that MF. Samsung Galaxy now 8 games straight over the last few weeks. If they can withstand the H2k early game, and H2k are unable to find mid-game plays, surely that means Samsung Galaxy are just going to run away with this series, because that was where the strength of H2k was. They had the advantage, but was it messy plays, bad plays that cost them?
The thing is that also, being on blue side changes up a lot in this, and I think that H2k will have a very different look coming into game number 2. So yeah, while Samsung had a very impressive close there to the game, I think there still is hope for H2k.
We'll have to find out. Hold that thought to Fisher. We're going to find out what the analyst desk has to say about game number 1.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Samsung Galaxy securing the first game of the series here, but I feel that this game went very much the way that we had talked about, the strengths and weaknesses of both of these teams leading up to the start of it all. H2k with a couple really big early kills, but ultimately Samsung Galaxy's late game decision making superior.
Yeah, 100%. I think that when you give away a draft like this, when you give away Nidalee and Victor, two champions that have incredible control through the Rylai's build, it's always going to be hard to close on them. So you have to be able to stomp that early game and be able to transition into mid-game plays. And they had half of the recipe. They were picking up the kills, but they weren't getting any gold off these objectives.
Yeah, and I think the extremely early kill in the bottom lane is what H2k would have needed to win that game. Yep. Because they had 2 pretty much winning lanes in the mid and top lane if they're playing properly, and then the lane that's supposed to get smashed with the Sivir Zyra there against the counterpick Misfortune Nash gets first blood, and suddenly they're okay. Not to mention they burned the Summoner spell on MF, but didn't work out.
Yeah, it's very hard to kind of gauge in this game, but we could already see, despite numerous visits from Jankos in the bot lane, the CS in the bot lane was actually pretty even. That's because this lane in the Ashe Misfortune actually smashes Sivir. Ashe has historically been a great pick into Sivir, and because the Misfortune has arisen as like a counter pick into the Zyra, it's double outrange, double poke, really easy gameplay pattern. At level 6, you will always get a kill on a Zyra or a flash. H2k needed Jankos to get these ganks off, and that's why I didn't like the draft that much. It was expected that Misfortune would come out, and I hope H2k don't get lulled into a false sense of security. Luckily for them, though, there was this genius pathing across the game from the first Blood King.
Yeah, and Jankos was completely on fire. This was actually the only game Samsung was able to win after giving up first blood. So they had the early game gank, but this replay is mainly just trying to show the pathing. Notice how he completely avoids the river, takes a shallow path through the jungle so he's not going to run into the Nidalee, and he's no hesitation here because he knows Nidalee might path down there later, perfectly going for Core JJ right off the bat as well.
Yeah, and that's what he was doing there every single gank. Look at him,
This one was great
The
too.
Fog of War just at the edge, and we're not highlighting it for the kills, we're highlighting it for the pathing that Jankos was doing. Even now, he sends Vander out of the brush, he keeps waiting there. This guy masses Fog of War. He's aware of the pink ward. communication with Odoamne, the 2v2 top lane, it was definitely one here. So if H2k can just draft a safe bot lane and keep playing around this top lane with Odoamne, that may be a better recipe because Jankos is going off.
Yeah, you mentioned that Jankos needed the ganks to work, and they all did. 100% kill participation for him, even in this loss. Also, very interesting and smart itemization from him, going for that Righteous Glory very early. We saw the effectiveness of that in making picks.
Yeah, and even the way he used it. So he speeds up with the Ghost, with the Righteous Glory. He'll get close to his opponent, wait for the Righteous Glory to proc, which is actually an AoE slow, a mini Randuin's as if it were. Then he throws the axe, hoping that they would flash already. He is really mastering this champion. However, this build requires a snowball lead, but he is consistently getting it.
Yeah, but Spawn, if we're going to talk about Jankos, we got to talk about his counterpart in Ambition, because the team goes down a couple early kills to a lot of teams that would shake them on a stage like this, but the veteran here stepping in and helping them out.
And that's what's so impressive about it. I mean, able to line up the first spear, sure, bad flash out of Ryu, but he comes back for the return gank, which is what we love to see out of these junglers. And Ambition, we talk about him so much because he is the shot caller and the leader of this young squad. And if they're going to have any chance in the early game, he needs to continue to be able to match some of that pace. And then he went back into the jungle, and this is the impressive thing, and just farms up a storm. This guy's on 5 items at the exact same time as his mid laner. He is doing work at the same time that Jankos is.
Still, though, I feel there's more, we got to criticize Ryu more than praise Ambition. I mean, he landed one spear on Ryu from Fog of War, then the other one was in a gravity field. Crown is getting, or is smashing Ryu in lane, rather, at the moment. Ryu was getting outtraded very early. Cassio into the Victor lane, that should never happen.
And that was my biggest problem with the draft. I mean, you can talk about winning lane, losing lane, but at a certain time, comfort comes out king. And we've seen so many times that Crown on this Victor is better than anyone in the world. I mean, this guy puts in overtime and is able to pick up side lane farm to get ahead, and then just team fights like a machine. I mean, I really don't think that you can afford to give it to him.
And Jack, you were looking at this mid lane matchup, coming in saying that Ryu is one of the members for H2k that has stepped up the most coming into Worlds, but here he is. He goes down 2 early kills, is losing in CS. That's not what we want to see out of him.
You don't want to see Ryu dying over and over again, and we saw a little bit of that this game. And yes, it was a little bit inexcusable. You do, though, give over the Nidalee, and you just get pressured in the mid lane. Nidalee is so good at pressuring and ganking the mid lane. Even if you're not landing spears, you just walk into the lane and auto-attack that, and you can win the lane just via that. Yes, Ryu played badly. Yes, he has to bounce back, but they did pick him into a bit of a corner.
Absolutely. All right, now let's go ahead and take another look at Samsung Galaxy's 29-minute ace, brought to you by Acer. We talked about, okay, H2K, they're ahead. They're looking to make decisions, and Krepo, you had talked about the importance of Baron in this matchup with Swan. It all goes awry for them here.
Yeah, and when you have a look at this, as soon as the teleport comes in, you should back away. Instead, they go for a little bit of a hybrid fight as they're retreating to the top side. I think that when you burn that many flashes, you go over the back of the pit, you just get the heck out of dodge, because there was really nothing that H2K could do once Cuvée entered the fight.
Exactly, and this was essentially the end of the game. Cuvée became tanky enough to tank the front line. Crown got enough damage to just stop any flank that was coming in. And that was the weakness we had for H2K coming into Worlds, was their inability to play around Baron properly to close the game.
But we have to put that Baron call into context. So this was a pick-off from H2K. They get control, and then they see Cuvée in the bottom lane right there, so they know they need to somehow get his teleport on cooldown. So they start the Nash. That's a fine call. The problem with H2K's Baron call is not necessarily the start of the calls, is that they can't pivot mid-call.
It's the communication within the call.
Yes, the communication in the team fights or within complex Baron situations just isn't fast enough. If they back off the second that teleport gets channeled, they get the teleport cooldown, they can trade a turret, but then they play the next part of the map with TP advantage. That's what they technically should have done, but because there's so much pressure for these guys and they're trying to rush it down and somebody just makes the call, finish the Baron, they're fishing a barrel for Samsung, and that's the problem. They don't pivot quick enough on their teamfight shot calling.
All right, now let's talk about moving forward to game 2. H2K swapping the blue side here, no substitutions. What do we want to see out of them? Of course, Nidalee being left up was big for Samsung Galaxy, but what's the response here?
I think that when you have a look at this, I think like bottom lane needs to go further in favor of H2K, in my opinion, if they're going to win. I don't think you can actually pick just the utility in your bottom lane and expect them to get smashed, because they don't like to play that style. You know, the Odoamne right now, if you give him a counter pick, is going to be fine. Pick the strong lane for your duo and be able to take it to it. Don't take Zyra when the misfortune is available.
Yeah, they have an extra ban in a sense, I would hope, now that they're on blue side. I want them to take away Crown's Victor, because that guy has been crushing on that champion.
There we have it. Samsung Galaxy has taken a 1-0 lead in this best of 5. Stay with us, because Worlds 2016 continues after the break.
I see a problem. I eliminated Mr. Vander, so if Ambition is problem to you, just call for it.
He's a problem, he's a problem.
Okay, well, there we go. This is going to be problems. Ambition is live! Okay, H2, what was that?
have numbers.
I go here.
Come,
Victor.
I'm trying to come. I'm on my way. I'm not Victor.
Nice.
They're looking for it. That's a kill. They've traded 1 for 1. Yanko's running for his life. Ryu's cut down. And with Cube chasing, you're never going to outrun an Echo. He's looking for Forgiven. The damage isn't there, though. Summoner heal was used. Cube's in trouble. Still got a GA. Owamne's already dead. He didn't even get down the slicing maelstrom. Crown gets his 5th of the game. Samsung Galaxy secure the win and continue their winning streak at Worlds.
Dare to be different. Revel in the impossible. Introducing a little anarchy. Disrupting the natural order. Because a hero lies in all of us. Nothing is beyond your reach. Claim your victory and go forth to conquer new worlds.